Okay, so hello everybody. I'm delighted to be involved. Um, has been said a few times, it's such a shame that it's virtual. I do miss all my BSBI friends, but look, it's great to get together. It's great to share information on what's happening, what's been going on, what future plans are. So look, we make the best of where we are. So most of you will know that I used to work as the BSBI Irish officer before Sarah very ably stepped in. In my new role, I'm the grassland ecologist with National Parks and Wildlife Service. And as part of that role, I have responsibility to provide scientific advice relating to grasslands. I provide oversight for survey and monitoring of grasslands. And as well, there's quite a large element of trying to promote public awareness of all things to do with grasslands. And that's kind of one of the ways that this project fits in. So I'm going to talk about the Irish Grasslands project, which NPWS, the BSBI, and also CEDAR are involved. So we've been working on this jointly this year, and hopefully it's going to be an ongoing project. We'll focus on what happened this year. So a lot of teaching, learning, and sharing, all focused on semi-natural grasslands. So today I'll just start with a little bit of the what and the where of semi-natural grasslands in Ireland. I'll talk about the project and the different elements, the main elements that were involved in it, and just finish up with a little bit about maybe what's next, and hopefully get ideas and thoughts from you guys as well. So let's start with terminology. In one way, we all know what a grassland is, but there are types of grasslands, and the terminology can be confusing, even for people that work in this field. So I'll start by saying we don't have natural grasslands in Ireland. They're elsewhere in the world. Natural grasslands as a climax community tend to be very little altered by man. We don't really have those in Ireland. What we have are semi-natural grasslands, which is mainly our focus here. And we also have improved grasslands. So these have been maybe more intensively used for agriculture or perhaps amenity. Other terms which are in use and which kind of can confuse people: species-rich grasslands. Semi-natural grasslands can be species-rich. They don't have to be, but sometimes they are. And it's a very relative term. The number of species to get you over a threshold to call it species-rich is context dependent. So there is no magic number, but you kind of know it when you step into a field and you know there's lots of species and you know that they're nice species to see. They're not agricultural species or nutrient related species. So you kind of tend to know, you get a feel for it. Another term that's been bandied about a lot now and may cause confusion is this multi-species sward. That's very much more related to the agricultural side of things, the intensive or improved grassland side of things, where farmers are encouraged when they're ploughing and reseeding to not just reseed in one or two species, but maybe 3, 4, 5. So a multi-species sward still has usually quite a small number of species and is more an agricultural term. So again, back to, in general, our focus as BSBI and as ecologists and botanists and natural history enthusiasts, we're looking and interested mostly in semi-natural grasslands. And just to give an idea of just how grassland rich we are in this country, this is a map that was produced for completely different purposes. It was produced for modeling bat distributions. But red color here shows a high proportion of grassland cover in a roughly 3-kilometer square cell. And blue color shows a low cover of grasslands. You can really see on a European scale, we have a lot of grasslands. So Ireland is important for grasslands. And yet we are not inside the global range of natural grasslands. You can see the shaded areas here. These are kind of plucked from textbooks, kind of very broad textbooks. The natural grassland distribution of the world tends to be more arid areas. There might be fire cycles. The climate will certainly be different to here. There'll possibly be very large herds of large herbivores. There'll be reasons that grasslands are a natural climax community. And you'll see Ireland is not included in that range. And on this map, Ireland's not included at all, which I find alarming, nor is Britain. So why is there so much grassland in Ireland? And really, in a nugget, it's to do with farming. Since humans arrived, they've been farming the landscape. And it's farming that has created so much of our grassland habitats. And so farmers really are the drivers and the custodians of an awful lot of our biodiversity, because a lot of our biodiversity is sited on and in and associated with grasslands and farmed habitats. So again, little reminder, semi-natural grassland, it's one that's been altered by man. This applies to pretty much all of the grasslands across Ireland. The alteration is typically for farming and agriculture, but the extent to which grasslands are altered clearly varies. And just to remind ourselves about that sliding scale of variation, whether a grassland is seen as being improved or semi-natural relates to the intensity of the management. And intensive agriculture involves things like ploughing and reseeding, fertilizing, high stocking rates, often application of maybe chemicals to manage pests. Often there'll be field boundary removal in order to allow economies of scale, larger machines to move around. So these are the kind of elements that make up the intensive end of the agricultural use of our grasslands. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have more extensive farming. And again, it's a sliding scale. But at the other end, you typically will not, like the photo there on the bottom right, that won't ever have been ploughed. There'll have been little or no reseeding, little or no fertilization. And if there is fertilizer applied, maybe it's farmyard manure. There'll be low to moderate stocking densities typically. So again, all of these things exist on a spectrum, but it allows us to talk about, categorize, and understand our grasslands better. So where are our semi-natural grasslands found? Are they very limited? Are they widespread? So it's, well, in one way, the short answer is we don't know exactly, but we do have ways of looking. Now, I hope you can see this map. What this map shows was produced by a group of researchers a couple of years ago, and it's based on modeling, and it shows if you have a green color towards the green end of the spectrum, that there's a high probability of there being high nature value farmland. So farmland that's managed extensively and usually good for biodiversity, supporting a lot of biodiversity. And towards the blue end of the spectrum, it's at the more intensive agriculture end of the scale. And this pattern, I could have showed a number of different maps here. There are maps of farm income that are very similar, maps of dairy and tillage farming compared to more extensive beef and sheep. There are lots of different patterns that result in lots of different data that result in a very similar pattern. So it gives you an idea where more of our semi-natural grasslands are found, but actually they're found in every county. Just some counties have more than others. And just in my role in the National Parks and Wildlife Service, we have quite a focus, not exclusively, but quite a focus on habitats and species that are listed in the Habitats Directive. So I'm not going to go into this in any detail, really. I'm showing you maps here, and I just want you to look at the patterns. So the patterns here are for 4 of our grassland habitats that are listed on the Habitats Directive. And again, you'll see very much a west and northwest of Ireland pattern in terms of where some of our really nicest, most special grasslands are found. So this gives you an idea of where they're found in general, but I can guarantee you there's no county that doesn't have Habitats Directive listed grasslands, these annex grasslands, and there's no county that doesn't have quite a bit of high nature value grassland. So onto our project, the Irish Grasslands Project. So I sat down and chatted with a number of people about this, but particularly, I guess, Robert at the start, Sarah and Edwina. And we kind of said we wanted to advance the understanding of the types of semi-natural grasslands in Ireland and improve the vegetative identification of key grassland species, thinking that this would be, a kind of a key skill gap among BSBI members. But, it wasn't limited to vegetative ID. We wanted this to be open to BSBI members, but all botanists, anyone that was interested. We had an original plan, and I might come back to that, but COVID came and changed our plans. So we very quickly had to turn around, and I think it's a credit to all the people involved that we were able to turn it around and turn it into something really fantastic at short notice. We decided to develop online training tutorials, some downloadable resources, and as a kind of an add-on, a real bonus, to have some kind of grass ID tips and some a significant social media element as well. So I'm going to touch on each of those. And we were really hoping as well that this would all be a springboard for work in future years. Valuable though it is, even as a standalone product, it will lead and it will support work in future years for sure. So the first element were the webinars. So 5 webinars were organized. We had a chat beforehand about who might be people that might be interested in helping us teach and helping us formulate these. And we came up with a shortlist. And thankfully, 2 fantastic teachers, Fionnuala O'Neill and Linda Weeks, engaged with us and developed webinars. And if anybody has watched any of these, you'll know that they did a really fantastic job. They really excelled in the brief. So each of these 5 webinars are available to view. You can view them now after the fact. Some of you will have watched them live. They're about an hour long and maybe 15 to 20 minutes question time at the end. And they just make an absolutely super resource. So you can watch the video or download the presentation or both. They're such a fantastic resource. So you can see here that this is just a screen grab from Fionnuala's, the first presentation, and then I think maybe from the third one from Linda. So really great detail, great learning resources that I think we'll all be going back to and using for for a long time to come. So were people interested? We were wondering, God, this is a bit niche. Will people actually engage with this? And it was a resounding yes. People absolutely did engage. 500 different people attended one or more webinar. And this really was a fantastic, fantastic figure. And we never had below 100 people watching at any point, and sometimes over 300 people were watching live. And there was a very high retention. The figures you can get behind the scene allow you to see, well, did that person click in and stay 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or did they watch most of it? So we know most people watched most of it. Really incredible. The recordings have been viewed 3,500 times. Again, we couldn't hope to reach that many people by running real life classes. So while the virtual environment doesn't substitute, it really does reach a lot of people, and it allows people to watch later on, watch with the notes, watch multiple times if they're so interested. So this really has been a revelation. 100 plus people asked for membership information as part of the follow-on questionnaire that Sarah developed. And of course they won't all join, of course they won't all stay, but these are people that are now interested in BSBI in an active way. Around half of the people heard about the course through social media. So it really has, social media has been key in this. And the majority of the attendees were in Ireland. There was a good number from the UK, and there were people from around the world that joined us in small numbers. A member of staff from the Botanic Gardens in Oman joined us one day and messaged me and said it was fantastic. And an MSc class from Indonesia who study grasslands joined us one day. But really, it's great to see that, as we intended, the majority of the attendees were from Ireland, and then with a good number from the UK. I just put up here in the corner a quote from one of my colleagues in NPWS who emailed me just a couple of days ago, and he said he's found the workshops revolutionary, and he just thinks it's a game changer and has really opened up the field of looking at grasslands and looking at identification to non-botanists. And I think it's yeah, it's hard to beat that kind of feedback. I think we got the tone and we got the content just about right. People who are actively interested have found what they want in the content, in the webinars. Okay, so the number two element is about the downloadable resources. And so a lot of you won't have seen anything to do with these yet, because they're still a work in progress behind the scenes, but very soon we'll be wrapping them up. So there's been a team of people feeding in with myself and Sarah, John Conahan, Jessica Hamilton, and Edwina have all been feeding in. And the idea is that we will have 4 downloadable resources focused on the annex, these Habitats Directive listed annex habitats. And we'll provide some information about the habitats, how you might identify them, what species are found there, and how to identify some of them. So we've chosen certain species. Sometime, we've had to choose a shortlist just to make the task and the document manageable, but some key species with photographs and some ID tips and some notes on confusion species. And I think this is just going to be a fantastic resource as we move towards the nuances of telling different types of grasslands apart and knowing, if you have a feeling, God, I think this place is really special, you can run your eye down through what are the list of indicator species for different types of habitats, have a look at the photos, read the notes. We're going to take people further along the journey of being able to understand some of our grassland habitats. And the final thing I want to mention about the final element of the Grasslands project, which was kind of an add-on, and just such a fantastic add-on. And I think Jessica is the main person that was putting these together. So thank you so much, Jessica. Fantastic work. Every week for the entire summer, I'm not sure the full number, but every week for the entire summer, Jessica has put up a post focusing on one Irish grass species. She has mentioned the distribution, ID tips, anything that could be relevant or helpful for somebody, and this just make a fantastic resource. So if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, you can search by the hashtag #IrishGrassOfTheWeek and look up the species. And again, it's something that people are going to come back to again and again. You can search for it online and you can say, God, that was covered one week. What did Jessica say again about such and such? What are the oracles like on this species? So again, a great resource. I'll just throw in a mention. It's not fully part of the Irish Grasslands project, but it's something that I started myself around the same time. And so it has often gone out on social media at a similar time. Hashtag Grasslands Paper of the Week. It's not a very catchy, short hashtag, but each week I feature a paper that is somehow related to research to do with grasslands. I'll often put up a photograph, give some links maybe to the authors or their institutions. So again, it's a nice searchable resource, and I'm about to put up the 20th Grasslands paper of the week later today. So what next? So regardless of what exactly we do next year, working on grasslands and going forward, we'll definitely be continuing to try to raise awareness about Irish grasslands. Our semi-natural grasslands, some of the most special kinds and some of the most threatened kinds, because grasslands are often Ireland's most invisible habitat. Many people don't see the difference. Now, I'm speaking to the converted here, I guess, but a lot of people in the wider public don't see the difference between a semi-natural field with lots of flowers, maybe, and lots of herbaceous species, and a field with perennial ryegrass that there are dairy cows in. So there's a real job of work to raising the visibility and teaching people about the differences in the different types of grasslands and the relative values. They're all needed. They all have a function. We want to continue to build skills in plant ID, and particularly in the tricky groups. So focusing on grasses and sedges and vegetative ID, and trying to just really upskill people in the bits that are tricky to continue to learn by yourself. As I mentioned, improve habitat differentiation skills for sure. I'd love to go down the route. This is where we kind of started with this project before COVID changed our plans. I'd love to build a comprehensive inventory of semi-natural grassland sites in Ireland. They're so hard to tell remotely without some knowledge, and BSBI recorders have this knowledge. They have the boots on the ground. They know where there are nice sites. It's really hard to do it remotely. So people have the knowledge within the BSBI network. Who knows what 2021 is going to bring in terms of restrictions relating to COVID. But listen, hopefully we will get back in the field in controlled small groups. And so with any bit of luck, we'll have fieldwork as well relating to it. But I'm really keen to hear BSBI members' thoughts as well. So my email address in my new job, maria.long@chg.gov.ie. We're changing departments, so my email address is about to change anytime soon, but it will redirect for quite some time. So that's my email address at the moment. And on Twitter, I'm @GrasslandsIRL. So I'll be very happy to hear from you either now or via any of those means over the coming days, weeks, and months. So thank you so much.